Alright, welcome you guys. Today we'll be talking about systems with three variables. As you can see, I have a system of equations with three variables and three equations, and I've already set it up into an augmented matrix. Okay, so what you can do with this is you can solve this by normal substitution elimination. Okay, those are totally fine. You're going to find substitution is going to be really kind of hard in the beginning. Okay, elimination might be a little bit better, but you might get lost in all the variables that are just out there. So my recommendation is for 3 and above matrices, when you're working with them, that you really kind of practice this new method, and this is called reduced row echelon. And what we're going to do is we're going to focus on getting a 1 and then some zeros. So, as you can see, row 2 already has a 1 in the first spot. So, what I can do is I can do through a series of simple operations, add, subtract, multiply and add, multiply and divide, you know, all that stuff. I can rearrange this, and what I want to do is I want to get my matrix to look like this. Okay? In an augmented matrix, you just have the answers on the right and you have your coefficients on the left. But what I want to do is get mine to look like this. Because if I can get the left side of the matrix to look like this, okay, my answers will be right here, X, Y, and Z, and then I'm done. Okay, so just depending on what I want to do, I want to take a look at this and just work around with it and just go, okay, I want to have it in this order. Now I could have like, basically this is the identity matrix right here on the left. Okay, and this is the answer matrix right here. And I could rearrange these to be in any order. So I could have this first row be in the second row, and the second row in the first row, and that would just mean the X and Y switch position. But wherever this first one appears, the subsequent number is going to be the X value. Wherever this one in the second position appears, this is going to be the Y value. And wherever this one is in the third position, Z is going to be your third variable. So, okay, so real fast, what you're going to do is you're just going to mess around with it, and some people might do it differently and stuff. I'm going to switch rows 1 and 2. Okay, that's going to be my first step. Okay, so now I have 1, 3, -1, 4, 2, -1, 1, 11, and then 4, which didn't change position, 1, -1, 14. Okay, so I just switched those positions. I still keep everything the same. You still have the augmented part, and you just work around it. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn these into zeros by multiplying this first row by numbers to get these into zeros. Now when I multiply this first row, okay, and add it with the subsequent rows, I'm going to change these numbers as well. And you're going to keep manipulating these numbers, but I want these to be zeros, okay, just for the sake of getting the identity matrix. So what I do is I write down, I go, okay, let's do the first one, row 1 times -2, and then we add it with row 2, just so I can look back and just see, okay, did I do everything correctly? Did I do what I was supposed to do? Okay, so what's going to happen is the first row does not change. So 1, 3, -1, 4. Okay, the bottom row does not change because we're not doing anything with it. -1, 14. Okay. Alright? Now the second row does change. Okay, now if I multiply by negative 2 and I add the 1, 1 times negative 2 is negative 2 plus 2 is going to be 0. Okay? Now I'm going to focus on the next one. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6 plus negative 1 is negative 7. Okay, and then I go on to the next one. Negative 2 times negative 1 is 2 plus 3, or plus 1 is going to be 3. And then I go negative 2 times 4 is negative 8, plus 11 is 3. Okay? Alright, now if you notice I've got the 0 here, so that's good. I want a 0 here now, so I'm going to multiply this one again by number to get there. Alright, I'm going to kind of write that above so I have some room to write another matrix before I have to go to another slide. Okay, so I'm going to take row 1, I'm going to times by negative 4, and add it with row 3. Okay, so now 1, 3, 3, negative 1, 4. Once again, that does not change. Alright, now the second row does not change, so I'm going to rewrite it. 0, negative 7, 3, 3. That doesn't change. Now the third row does change. Okay, so 1, so I'm going to go right down the order. Negative 4 times 1 plus 4 is 0, so that's good. Okay, then I do the next one. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12, plus 1 is negative 11. Negative 1 times negative 4 is 4, plus 1 is 3. Right? And negative 4 times 4 is going to be negative 16 plus 14. That is going to be negative 2. Okay? Alright. Now, depends on which one you want to get alone next. Now, going to the next step, okay, if you notice, I want to have the ones and diagonals and zeros everywhere else. You can pick row 2 to start with next, or you can pick row 3. It's totally up to you how you want to do it. Okay, but when you're working on it, you just want to take your time and just go, okay, how do I do this? How do I work with this? Okay? Alright, so if we go to the next slide, let's see, let me write this down on a piece of paper so I can reproduce it on the next slide. It's 1, 3, negative 1, 4, 0, negative 7, 3, 3, 0, negative 11, 3, negative 2. Okay. Alright, so we go to the next slide. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick that second. I'm going to pick that second row, and I'm going to make that a 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply everything by negative 1/7 to get this to be a 1. So I want this to be a 1, a positive 1 nonetheless. So I need to multiply everything by that. So I'm going to take row 2. So here's my step. Row 2 times negative 1/7. Okay, so the first row doesn't change. 1, 3, negative 1, 4. Pretty easy. Once again, third row doesn't change. 0, 11, or shoot, negative 11, 3, negative 2. Okay, now the second row does change. Now 0 times, that doesn't change anything, that's just still 0. Okay, this one, however, becomes a 1. This one becomes a negative 3/7, which is okay to have fractions. Just, you know, negative 3/7. Okay? Alright, now the next thing I'm going to do is above and below the 1, I'm going to change those to zeros. So I want to multiply this row, okay, by a certain number to get rid of the 3 and to get rid of the negative 11. Okay, so I'm going to do two actions at once. So I'm going to do row 2 times negative 3 plus row 1, okay, and I'm also going to do row 2 times 11 plus row 3. Okay, so I'm going to do that both at once. Okay, now if you notice the zeros right here, they're going to take care of the fact that this isn't going to change. So that's the gorgeous thing about it. Okay, so I still have the 1, the 0. No, I'll just leave that right there. So that's going to stay the same. Okay, what also is going to stay the same is this one, 0, 1, negative 3/7, negative 3/7. Okay, and then this 0 is going to stay the same no matter what. Okay, so if I multiply by negative 3, I'm going to get 0 up here. Okay, if I multiply by negative 3, that is going to be 9/7 plus negative 1, which would be 2/7. Okay, and then you are going to have to use your calculator on this, and it's going to be what? 4 plus, let's do parentheses, 9 divided by 7, and let's convert that to a fraction. 37/7. Okay, and that's the top part right there. Alright, and the bottom part is going to turn into, this is going to be 0, okay, and so on and so on. And so you can see it, as we're slowly getting through this, these numbers are changing, but they will change for the betterment. And this is, reduced row echelon is probably one of the better ways to do this stuff. It's not the easiest way, but it's the easiest way without a calculator. Okay. Alright, I'm not going to finish this one. I'll let you guys finish this one. This one, it does get pretty easy, plus there's a lot of fractions. But it does make sense how this stuff works, and it's like, oh, okay, that's how it works. So reduced row echelon, ladies and gentlemen, have a great day.